Closely watching our nation's capital today as House Democratic lawmakers hold a closed-door meeting to discuss, as you probably could guess, President Biden. The president is facing immense pressure right now from some lawmakers over his decision to remain in the race after that poor debate performance. The meeting happening at the same time Vice President Kamala Harris is scheduled to speak at a Las Vegas rally. Correspondent Joe Khalil following it all live for us on Capitol Hill. So, Joe, what are you hearing from lawmakers so far today?
So House Democrats had their closed-door meeting this morning. When they came out, overwhelmingly, Democrats said they support Joe Biden. They're going to stand with him. Now, before we take that at face value, I've had a lot of conversations with lawmakers, with staff last night and this morning. Many of those members, even the ones publicly saying that they support and stand by Joe Biden, still have serious concerns, Nichole, about his age, about his mental fitness, and about whether he is the right guy to deliver the message and the argument against Donald Trump and win in November. But a lot of these Democrats are now making a political calculation that perhaps the most likely scenario is that Joe Biden stays in this race, and they don't want to do any more damage to him politically by raising these concerns over his age and his fitness than they've already potentially done. We're having these conversations already. So to an extent, some of that damage already has been done, but it's a political calculation. It's not that Joe Biden has in any way erased their concerns or eased their anxiety about himself. But they're at this point now where they feel, many of them, like publicly, they have to show support for the president for the sake of the party and the election. This is what it sounded like as Democrats left that meeting today.
Well, he's a good man. He has good policies. There's no reason to change.
Joe Biden's our candidate for president. I'm really worried about what's going to happen in November. And I don't want to elect a man who calls veterans who die in service losers.
Joe Biden is the nominee.
And Ayanna Pressley there, Congresswoman from Massachusetts, saying Joe Biden is the nominee. We've heard that sentence a lot last night and again this morning from a number of members, which isn't exactly a great endorsement or faith in him. But again, that's where many Democrats are, at least right now. And we can also tell you this isn't simply something that is being debated among lawmakers. The polling bears out that there are serious concerns among Democratic voters all across the country, and President Biden has, by and large, lost a bit of ground since that debate. That is, in some ways, fueling much of these concerns. We've heard members of Congress cite their own polling in their own states and their own districts, Nichole. And by the way, we have, over the last couple of days, had people, some say that President Biden should drop out, but others publicly expressing concerns. A lot of senior Democrats, actually, again, not going so far as to say that he should be replaced at the top of the ticket, but many saying the conversation at least should be had.
And we know that there was that letter sent to congressional Democrats yesterday. What about when it comes to the Senate, Joe? What are Democrats in that chamber saying?
So as we reported yesterday in the afternoon, we had a number of senators who were running in really tough re-election battles, like Sherrod Brown from Ohio, like John Tester from Montana, both of them expressing serious concerns and saying that President Biden still has a lot to prove, a lot of ground to make up to gain back the faith that he may have lost with some voters. And then just last night, yesterday evening, Senator Patty Murray said the same thing, that she has concerns and that the conversation about the path forward for President Biden should be discussed among senators. Patty Murray is someone who is a longtime serving Democrat in the Senate. She's one of the highest ranking Democrats. She's a Senate president pro tempore in the line of succession for the presidency, actually. So for someone of her stature to forward and at least raise these questions shows you that it's not just on the fringes. These are very mainstream Democrats now raising some of these concerns, and this conversation continues even as most Democrats, including leaders Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, stand by the president.
Yeah, the conversation certainly does continue. All right, Joe Khalil, thank you. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.